So we start with a brief introduction to Edward Albee's The Zoo Story. The Zoo Story is a one-act play by the well-known American playwright Edward Albee, and this is his first play, and it was written in 1958. And this one-act play is very famous. It explores the themes of isolation, loneliness, then social disparity, and dehumanization in a materialistic world. In the modern materialistic world, people, especially the poor people, the people who belong to the lower strata of the society, they feel themselves isolated, lonely, the unequal social status. They feel themselves to be dehumanized because the world is a materialistic world. That's the modern world. So that is the theme of this play. And as far as the story is concerned, the plot of the one-act play is concerned, well, it concerns, as we have seen in the drama, well, two characters. The first one is Peter and the second one is Jerry. These two people, they meet on a park bench in New York City's Central Park. So a park is the scene. Peter, he's an executive, a wealthy publishing executive, and he is married with a wife. He has two daughters, two cats, and two birds at home, two parakeets. Whereas Jerry is an isolated, disheartened man. He's full of frustration and he's desperate to have a meaningful conversation with another human being. He wants to meet someone. He wants to talk to someone. And he's searching for people to talk to. And in the park, he intrudes on Peter's peaceful state, because Peter was sitting there in a peaceful manner. He was enjoying himself. And Jerry comes and starts questioning him. He starts interrogating him. And he forces him to listen to stories about his own life and the reason behind his visit to the zoo. He tells him, well, I have been to the zoo. I have been to the zoo. And why he went to the zoo, etc. And all these things he tries to tell him. And eventually, in the end, we can see that Peter, the executive, he has had enough of his strange companion, because they are not known to each other, the strange companion. And Peter tries to leave. But Jerry, he starts pushing him off the bench and challenges him for a fight. And all on a sudden, unexpectedly, Jerry pulls a knife which falls down, and he drops it for Peter to grab. And then Peter holds the knife defensively. And then Jerry charges at him and he gets hurt. And finally, he dies. Well, this is the plot, the summary of the story, the Zoo Story, by Edward Albee, the famous American playwright, who was born in 1928 and died in 2016 at the age of 88. And that's the plot of the one-act play, the zoo story. So I think we shall start with this text. Shall we start? Can you see the text of the play? Right. So here is the text, the zoo story, a play. He calls it, Edward Albee calls it a play in one scene by Edward Albee. Now the players, the characters, well, Peter, we have seen Peter sitting on a bench in a park, in the Central Park in New York. Well, Peter, he's a man in his early 40s, a middle-aged man, neither fat nor gaunt. He's not fat. At the same time, he's not so lean. Well, neither handsome nor homely. You can't call him a very handsome man, but he's not unattractive in appearance. He wears tweeds, which is a rough woolen cloth, tweeds, and he's smoking a pipe, and he carries horn-rimmed glasses. Although he is moving into the middle age, well, he's in his 40s, his dress and his manner would suggest that he is a man younger than his age. He's in his 40s, but from the way, from his appearance, from his dress and his manners, he looks much younger. So that is Peter. And then we have Jerry, the second character. Well, Jerry is much younger than Peter. He is in his late 30s, whereas Peter is in his 40s. And this Jerry, he's not poorly dressed. You can say that he's very poorly dressed. He's badly dressed. No, he's somewhat okay, but carelessly. He is not properly dressed. He is dressed carelessly. What was once a trim and lightly muscled body, well, once upon a time in the past, he was a very healthy man. He looked very robust and healthy. And now he has started to go to fat. He is getting fatter. He has started putting on weight. While he is no longer handsome, it is evident that he once was. Now, from his looks, from his appearance, from his physique, well, we understand that he was once a very handsome man, but he is no longer handsome. His fall from physical grace, well, that has completely changed. The graceful appearance has changed. I should not suggest a debauchery. No, he doesn't look like a very bad man, an evil man with immoral character, with a bad sexual behavior and drinking too much alcohol and taking drugs and all. No, he doesn't look like that. But he has fallen from physical grace, but he doesn't look like a very bad man. He has come closest to it. Well, we might feel that he's becoming bad to a great weariness. Well, these are the two characters, Peter and Jerry. Well, the scene starts. It is the Central Park in the city of New York. Well, it's a Sunday afternoon in summer. It is summertime, the present. There are two park benches. It's a park. There are two benches, one towards either side of the stage, either side of the stage. On both sides of the stage, there are two benches. It's a park benches. These two characters, Peter and Jerry, they face the audience. Now behind them, we can see trees, small trees, leaves, foliage, trees, and the sky. All these things can be seen because it's a park. At the beginning, when the curtain goes up, we can see Peter. Peter is seated on one of the benches. As the curtain rises, Peter is seated on the bench, stage right. And they both, that is Peter and Jerry, face the audience. Behind them, at the beginning, we can see Peter is seated on one of the benches. As the curtain rises, Peter is seated on the bench, stage right. What is he doing? He's reading a book. Peter is reading a book. And when Jerry comes, he stops reading. He cleans his glasses. He cleans them and he goes back to reading when Jerry enters. And this is the start of the play, of the one-act play. Jerry, I've been to the zoo. Peter doesn't notice. Jerry says again, I said I've been to the zoo. Now, the other one doesn't care. Peter doesn't care. Mister, I have been to the zoo. Well, he is trying to talk to him. He is trying to attract his attention by saying, I have been to the zoo. Mister, I have been to the zoo. Then Peter, what? I'm sorry. Were you talking to me? Are you talking to me? Because they are strangers, they are not known to each other. And all of a sudden, in a park, Jerry comes and he tries to attract the attention of Peter. I have been to the zoo. Well, it has nothing to do with them because Peter and Jerry, they do not know each other. And he's an intruder. He says, I have been to the zoo. I have been to the zoo. Mister, I have been to the zoo. Then, were you talking to me? This is what Peter asks. Now, Jerry, I went to the zoo. And then I walked. Now, after having gone to the zoo, then I walked until I came here. Well, I walked all the way from the zoo to the park. Now, have I been walking north? Have I been walking north? Now, he talks about the direction in which he was walking. Have I been walking north from the zoo to the Central Park? Now, Peter, he's puzzled because he doesn't know what to say because they are complete strangers. They do not know each other. North? Why? I think so. Let me see, because he doesn't understand it. Jerry talks about the zoo. Jerry talks about the direction. Well, he doesn't understand. Then all of a sudden he says, let me see. Jerry, he pointing past the audience. Is that Fifth Avenue? Is that Fifth Avenue? That's a famous street in the New York City. The Fifth Avenue. Is that the Fifth Avenue? Then Peter, why? Yeah, yes, it is. It is the Fifth Avenue because it's a very expensive. It's a street with very expensive shops in New York City. The Fifth Avenue. Why? Yes, it is. Then Jerry, what is that cross street there? That one to the right. Now he asked about the Fifth Avenue. Now he starts talking about another street. Now, what about that cross street there to the right? What is it? Now, Peter, that? Oh, that is 74th Street. Well, the East-West Street, the 74th Street in the New York City. Then Jerry, and the zoo is around the 65th Street, isn't it? So I have been walking now. Now I understand Well, I have got a clear idea of the location of the directions. I'm sure I have been walking north. Now Peter, anxious to get back to his reading, well, he wants to dismiss him because he's an intruder. He's not interested. Now he wants to return to his reading. Yes, it would seem so. Yes, it would seem so. I think so. Then Jerry, he's not ready to leave him. Oh, good old north. North, he's talking about the north direction, the northerly direction. Oh, good old north. Then Peter lightly, by reflex, as if it's an automatic reaction. Ha ha. But, oh, that good old north. He just wants to dismiss him. Then Jerry, after a slight pause, but not due north, is it? Real north? Due north? Now Peter, no, not due north, but we call it north. We call it northerly. That is the northerly direction. In the direction of the north, we call it northerly. Then Jerry watches as Peter, anxious to dismiss him, prepares his pipe. He starts preparing his pipe to smoke because he's a smoker. Now, just he wants to get rid of this young man. Then Jerry, well, boy, he addresses him again. Well, boy, you are not going to get lung cancer, are you? Because he's going to smoke. Or you are not going to get. Will you get? See, you should be careful. You will get lung cancer. You are not going to get lung cancer, are you? You're going to smoke? Then Peter looks up a little. He didn't like it. He looks up a little bit annoyed. Then he said, "No, sir, not from this. I am not going to get lung cancer from this smoking. From this smoking, from this pipe, I am not going to get lung cancer." Then Jerry, "No, sir. You will probably get. What you will probably get is the cancer of the mouth. Well, you might get that, and then you will have to wear one of those things. Now, when you get the cancer of the mouth, you will have to wear one of those things. Now, one of those things Freud wore after they took one whole side of his jaw away. Now, after the jaw has been removed, after Freud got cancer of the mouth, a part of his jaw has been removed, and they put another one, artificial one. Now, what do they call those things? Those artificial things? When the natural jaw, the body part is removed, the doctors put an artificial one. Now, what do they call it? Then Peter, he becomes a little bit uncomfortable. Yes, a prosthesis, that is an artificial body part, a prosthesis. Now, Jerry, yes, that very thing, a prosthesis. Now, you are an educated man, aren't you? Are you a doctor? Because you know these technical terms. Are you a doctor? Now, Peter, oh, no. I read about it somewhere. I know this word from my reading, because I read about that prosthesis about somewhere. I think it is at the Time magazine, I think. Now he turns to his book, just get rid of this young man. He turns to his book. Now, Jerry, well, a Time magazine is not for blockheads, isn't it? For blockheads. It is not for stupid fellows, is it? Now, Peter, no, I suppose not. Now, Jerry, after a pause, boy, I am glad that is Fifth Avenue there. Then Peter vaguely, yes. Then Jerry, I don't like the west side of the park much. Well, again, he starts intruding. He starts talking about the park, which Peter is not interested in. Now, I don't like the west side of the park. I don't like it much. Now Peter, oh, slightly aware but interested. He looks, he gets a little bit interested. Why? Why don't you like that west side of the park? Then Jerry says, offhand, I don't know. I don't know the reason. I just don't like it. Then Peter, oh, then suddenly he returns to the book. Jerry, he stands for a few seconds there. He looks at Peter and finally he looks up again, a little puzzled. Do you mind if we talk? I want to talk to you. Do you mind if I talk? Peter obviously minded. Oh, why? No, I don't mind. Yes, you do. You do mind if I talk. You don't like it, do you? Then Peter, no, sir, no. I don't mind. I don't mind if you talk. Jerry, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You do mind. Then Peter finally did, no. That's a strong no. No, I don't mind at all, really. Then Jerry, yes, it's a nice day. Then Peter says, yes, it's lovely. It's a lovely day. Well, Jerry, I've been to the zoo. I've been to the zoo. Peter, yes, I think you said so, didn't you? You have already said it, that you have been to the zoo. Jerry, you will read about it in the papers tomorrow. You're going to read about it. About what? I don't know. If you don't see it on your TV tonight, well, you have TV, haven't you? Well, he says, just something, something unrelated. Something totally unrelated. Because Peter doesn't know. Peter does not know what he is talking about. You will read about it. About what? He says something. You will read about it in the papers tomorrow if you don't see it on your TV tonight. Now, either you will see it on your TV tonight, or if you don't see it on your TV tonight, you will read about it in the newspapers tomorrow. Do you have a TV at home? Then Peter says, why? Yes, we have two. Not one television, but we have two televisions. One for the children. Then Jerry, oh, you are married? You are married? Then Peter, with pleased emphasis, why? Certainly, I am married. Then Jerry, it isn't a law. For God's sake, is it a law that one should get married? Then Peter, no, of course not. Jerry, and you have a wife? Look at that stupid question. First, he asks, you are married. Then Peter says, yes, I am married. No, you have a wife? Peter, bewildered, puzzled, confused by the seeming lack of communication. First he talks about the marriage, then he talks about the wife. Yes. And you have children? He continues the conversation. Yes. Two. I have two children. Jerry, boys? No. Both girls. Jerry, but you wanted boys. You wanted sons. You wanted a son. You wanted boys. Peter, well, naturally, every man wants a son. But then Jerry, he lightly mocking, in a mocking way, as if he just scoffs at him. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, isn't it? Oh, you will have to tolerate these things. That is the way the cookie, even if you don't like it, you just have to put up with it, isn't it? That is the way the cookie crumbles. That's a joke. That's an idiomatic expression. Means even if there is something bad, even if there's something bad happens in your life, well, you have to suffer it. You have to put up with it. That is the way the cookie crumbles. That's an idiomatic expression in American English. Peter, a little bit annoyed. I wasn't going to say that. I was not going to say that. What? That is the way the cookie crumbles. I'm trying to put up with it. I'm not going to say that. Jerry, and you are not going to have any more kids, are you? Are you going to have more kids? Then Peter, no more. Because That's enough. I have 2 girls and I'm happy with it. Now, then back, a little bit irksome, a little bit irritated. Why do you say that? Why do you say that? How would you know about that? That is, I am not going to have more kids. How would you know that? Then Jerry, I know it, the way you cross your legs, because he was sitting cross-legged. Perhaps something in the voice. Or maybe I am just guessing. Is it your wife? Then Peter gets a little bit impatient, angry, furious. That's none of your business. You're talking about my wife. That's none of your business. Then after silence for a while, do you understand? Jerry nods. Peter is quiet now. Well, you're right. We'll have no more children. We have stopped. We'll have no more children. Jerry, softly, again the joke. Oh, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Oh, that's the way the life goes on, isn't it? No, even if there is something bad happens, something unlucky, something unfortunate happens, you just put up with it. That is the way the cookie crumbles. Peter, forgiving. Yes, I guess so. Jerry, well, now, what else? Anything else? Is there anything else? Then Peter, what were you saying about the zoo? You were trying to tell me something about the zoo. What is it? That I would read about it or see it on TV, something like that you were trying to say? Then Jerry, I'll tell you about it soon. I'll tell you about it soon. Do you mind if I ask you questions? Well, nobody likes. Nobody likes. If a stranger comes and starts asking you questions, you may not like it. You will try to dismiss him. Do you mind if I ask you questions? Then Peter, oh, not really. I don't mind. If you ask me questions, I don't mind. Then Jerry, I'll tell you about it soon. Now, about the thing that you're going to, I told you about something you're going to read in the newspaper or see on the television. Well, I will tell you about it soon. Do you mind if I ask you questions? Or not really? Now, I'll tell you why I do it. I don't talk to many people. I don't like many people. I don't talk to many people, except, well, sometimes, I like people to say things like this, like, give me a beer. These are the only things, for which I talk to people. Like, give me a beer, give me a cigarette. Now, where is John? Or what time does the feature go on? Or keep your hands to yourself. Just, buddy, only to say these things. And normally I don't talk to people. I don't talk to people much. I don't talk much. I'm not a good conversationalist. I'm not a sociable man. Well, very, very rarely do I speak for things like this. For example, give me a beer. Or where is the John? Or what time does the feature go on? Or keep your hands to yourself. Only to say things like this. Normally I talk to people. Things like that. Now, Peter, I must say, I don't, he's about to say something, but then Jerry says, but every once in a while, I talk to somebody. Sometimes, from time to time, once in a while, I talk to somebody. Really talk. And like to get to know somebody. And know all about him. Then I am the guinea pig for today. So I am your victim today, isn't it? So sometimes, now once in a while you want to talk to somebody. So today you have got me as your victim. I am the guinea pig for today. Am I? Now, Jerry, on a sun-drenched Sunday afternoon like this, It's a bright, it's a bright day, isn't it? The sun is there. It's very bright. The sun is shining. A bright Sunday afternoon. Who better than a nice married man with two daughters? Well, you are the best person for me today. You are the best person I would like to talk to. Well, who better than a married man with the two daughters and a dog? Then Peter shakes his head. No, no dog. No, two dogs? You have two dogs at home? Then Peter shakes his head again. No dogs? Then Peter shakes his head sadly. Oh, that's a shame. You don't have dogs. That's a shame. But you look like an animal, man. Cats? Then Peter nods. Yes, ruefully. Oh, cats. But that can't be your idea. No, sir. Your wife and daughters? Then he nods his head again. So wife, daughters, cats. Is there anything else I should know? Is there anything else at your home? Then Peter, with a clear his thought, he says, well, there are two parakeets. There are two parrots, two birds at home. One for each of my daughters. So two parakeets, two cats, a wife. Well, Jerry, birds, parakeets. Then Peter says, my daughters keep them. My daughters keep the birds in a cage in their bedroom. Then Jerry says, do the birds, do these parakeets carry disease? The birds, do they carry disease? Then Peter says, I don't believe so. Then Jerry, well, that's too bad. That's too bad. If they did, if they carry disease, then you could set them loose. You just set them free. Set them loose in the house, and what would happen? The cats would eat them and they will die. That's a joke. Now, if you are afraid that the birds would carry disease, well, you can let them free. Let them loose and the cats would eat them and they will die. So you will be saved. Then Peter look blank for a moment and then he laughs. Then what else? What do you do to support your enormous household? You have a big family, a wife, two kids, birds, cats, a big family. It's an enormous household. It's a big family. Now, what do you do? Now, what is your profession? What's your job? What do you do? Then Peter says, I have an executive position. I am an executive. I am an executive position with a small publishing house. I work with a small publishing house and I'm executive there. Well, we publish textbooks. Then Jerry, that sounds very nice. What do you make? Then Peter, still cheerful. Now look here. Oh, come on. Then Peter, well, I make around 18,000 a year. That is my income, my annual income. 18,000 American dollars. But usually I don't carry more than $40 at any one time because I'm afraid there are robbers, there are thieves around. In case you are a hold-up man, in case you are a thief, because I don't carry much money in my pocket. I make around 18,000 American dollars annual income. But at any one given time, I don't carry a lot of money in my pocket, because in case there are thieves like you are a hold-up man, you are a thief. Then Jerry, ignoring the above, where do you live? Now, where is your house? Where do you live? Peter is reluctant. He doesn't want to reveal that. Oh, look, I am not going to, Jerry says, look, I am not going to rob you. I'm not a thief. I'm not going to kidnap your parakeets. I'm not going to kidnap your cats or your daughters. I am not a robber. I'm not a thief. Just out of curiosity, I asked where you live. Where do you live? Peter, too loud. I live between Lexington and 3rd Avenue on the 74th Street. That is where my residence is located. That is between Lexington and 3rd Avenue on the 74th Street. Then Jerry, oh, that wasn't so hard, was it? Peter, I didn't mean to seem hard. It's that you don't really carry on a conversation. You just ask questions. And I'm normally reticent. Normally I'm a reserved man. I don't talk much. Now, why do you just stand there? Why are you standing there, Jerry? Now, I will start walking around a little while, and eventually I will sit down. First, I will walk around a little bit, and then I will sit down. Wait until you see the expression on his face. Wait until you see the expression on his face. Now what? Whose face? Wait until you see the expression on his face. Whose face? What? Whose face? Look here. Is this something about the zoo? Are you talking about the zoo? Now, Jerry, the what? Now, Peter says, the zoo, the zoo. Something about the zoo? Are you talking? Now, Jerry, the zoo? Peter, yes, you have mentioned it several times. You were trying to talk to me about the zoo, your visit to the zoo. Now you forgot about it? Now Jerry is still distant, but returning abruptly. The zoo? Oh yes, the zoo. I was there before I came there. I told you that. Say, what is the dividing line between? What is the dividing line between upper middle class, upper middle class, and the lower upper middle class? What's the dividing line? Then Peter says, now my dear fellow, Then Jerry says, don't my dear fellow me, don't follow me, don't call me like that, don't my dear fellow me. Then Peter, unhappily, was I patronizing? Was I trying to advise you? Was I trying to be friendly? Was I trying to, feel superior to you? Was I patronizing? I believe I was. I'm sorry. But you see, your question about the classes, about the upper middle class, the lower middle class, well, it confused me. It bewildered me. Jerry. And when you are bewildered, you become patronizing, or you become like that. Then Peter, well, I don't express myself too well, because I'm not a good conversationist. Because sometimes I am unable to express my thoughts, my mind clearly. I don't express myself too well sometimes. Then he attempts a joke on himself. I am in publishing. I am not writing. Because that is why I have chosen this profession in publishing. I'm not writing. I'm not a good writer. I'm not a good conversationist. Sometimes, my mouth, my tongue, it betrays me, because I'm not able to express in words what I exactly mean. Then Jerry, amused, but not at the humor. Oh, so be it. The truth is, what? I was being patronizing. Then Peter, oh, now, you needn't say that. Don't tell me that. I was not trying to patronize you. Then it is at this point that Jerry may begin. Now, at this point, Jerry may begin to move about the stage with a slowly increasing determination and authority. But now, because he was standing there, now he starts, walking. But pacing himself, he walks so that the long speech, because after some time you're going to listen to a long speech, a very long speech. The long speech about the dog, he later in the play, he makes a long speech. It comes at a high point of the arc. I think that's enough for the day.